We're getting started. It is my pleasure to introduce Kevin Ford. Kevin Ford is another one that I met early on in the cannabis industry with our dedication to advocacy and equitable participation in the cannabis industry. Kevin is the founder of Uplift Companies, and he's going to be moderating the panel discussion that we're having now on connecting with community, executing your DEI, and then the all-important is making sure that you are servicing your medical cannabis patients. Thank you, Kevin.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. All right, appreciate y'all for having us. Should be a delightful conversation. My name is Kevin Ford, as she said. I'm the founder of Uplift, based here in Prince George's County, so it's always good to have an opportunity to speak about cannabis here at home. Joined with some good friends as well as good colleagues up here, and I'm going to have them go down the line and introduce themselves. Start with Claudia.
Hello? Yes. Hi, my name is Claudia Post. I've been in the cannabis industry almost 14 years, and I'm still here, amazingly enough. I opened up a marketing communications agency. Original name was Smokin' Hot Solutions. And then I decided maybe that's not the direction I wanted to go in. I had interns that worked for me, who I nurtured, who I've given part of my company to. And one of those interns is John Monk. His last name was Monk. My last name is Post. And I said, well, together we're the most. So I own Most Consulting Group. I also have a background in transportation, logistics, supply chain, chain of custody, warehousing, pick, pack, ship, you name it. And my clients were the who's who, FedEx, UPS, etc. So one day I was sitting and I said, hey, why don't I open up a delivery service? The company was born Scarlet Express because I wasn't going to call it Green Express. I'm tired of green everything. And that is my story. Next.
How am I supposed to follow that? I think I need to take one step back and say, this guy's too humble. And I remember he hired me. I used to work for you a while back with Uplift Maryland. So I appreciate that. This guy has a great program and does a lot for the community. So I want to make sure Kevin Ford gets his flowers. Yes. I'm Todd Hughes. Story's kind of crazy. Started out in the federal government, top secret security clearance, working nuclear weapon technology development at the National Nuclear Security Administration. And then I found out the impact that cannabis has had on my community, right? So a lot of folks losing federal financial aid, literally kicked out of school, losing opportunities to live. And so I jumped into cannabis as an advocate, became the chair of the board for the Minority Cannabis Business Association, recently stepped down so I could pass it to Big Tahir Johnson, getting it done. He's about to be the president over there. So if that's not out in the news, y'all heard it first, exclusive. And through the advocacy work and policy work, we've gotten a ton of opportunities. One of them is we have a cultivation and dispensary license in Maryland. This was the HB2 round. We are still not operational, so listening to the good folks on the previous panel, it was a lot of work to get that going. And so keep me in your prayers, because May this year we will be open thanks to the Office of Social Equity, the Cannabis Business Assistance Fund, and everything that's going on in Maryland right now. So it's an absolute blessing. I know I'm long-winded. And lastly, I wanted to shout out my guy, attorney Brandon L. Wyatt, business partner, who worked with me to start an executive MBA training program for minority entrepreneurs called BCB Mastermind. We're building an ecosystem of minority entrepreneurs so that we can support each other. I think it doesn't work if we don't, even in Maryland. So if you don't get a license, talk to the person that did, because it's important that we have collectivism in this space.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for sticking with us for the entire day. And huge shout out to the CannabizMD team for putting this all together. Thank you guys so much. Jackie, Andrea, students at MCST. Thank you to viewers at home. I'm jealous that y'all are in your pajamas. and really excited to be here. My name is Paloma Layfeld. I'm a physician by training and work at Vireo Health. We're a cannabis operator based in Minnesota with operations in Maryland and New York as well. I lead their clinical research initiatives, which include a $3.8 million NIH grant for opioid reduction in chronic pain patients, and work, yes, love you, let's go. And also work with our meaningful partnerships, which is how I know a lot of folks in the room here and some of my co-panelists. Super grateful to be on this panel with you all. I also work for a psychedelic startup company. I think we're going to see Psychedelics Biz MD in a few years coming together. But just very grateful to be here, and thanks again for sticking around.
Okay. Yay. Dr. Paloma. Hi, everybody. My name is Hope Wiseman. I'm the founder and CEO of WiseCo. We own and operate Marion, Maine, which is right up the street. I was born and raised in Prince George's County, so it's super exciting that I got to start my journey here in my hometown. I've had the opportunity to work with pretty much everybody here. And yes, thank you to the Cannabis Maryland team for inviting me to come speak. And, fun fact, Kevin and I are like childhood friends. His sister is one of my very best friends. And the very first time I ever used cannabis was with Kevin. So, yeah, fun fact.
That is very true, very true. So we're up here today to talk about branding, right? And one thing that I think that is important to differentiate is your personal brand versus your company brand. And I got to shout out Hope, this is my sister. I got to show her some love. She has an extremely strong personal brand, right, that she was able to transition into the cannabis industry to help propel her business. So if you could kind of talk a little bit about how you've leveraged branding and community engagement in your entrepreneurial journey thus far.
Can we table that real quick so I can get mic'd up?
Yep.
I'm filming for something really special here, so you guys will get to be a part of it. I'm going to put on my mic real quick. Now you sit up, I think.
Cool. So we will go to Dr. P. Has there been a way that you've leveraged branding and community engagement in your entrepreneurial journey, or even through your position at Vireo?
Yeah, initially, with the evolving cannabis industry, I was brought on to really just do traditional marketing and branding to healthcare providers. We know very well that in Maryland specifically, it's evolving exponentially. It's imperative that we keep that audience, we maintain that medical market and legitimacy, and I'll keep saying that over and over again, just because that is where the customers are going to stay. And having that trustworthiness and that authenticity, which you cannot teach. In medical school, we had a class on learning empathy, and spoiler alert, you can't teach empathy, you can't teach authenticity, but building a brand, having that authenticity is imperative. And again, you cannot fake it, and it's something that you build by education, by community engagement, and by really reaching your customers and learning from your mistakes, which we all have, or I have many. I won't speak for y'all.
Perfect. So in talking about differentiating your cannabis brand, Claudia, what are some strategies you would recommend to new cannabis entrepreneurs for differentiating their brand in this competitive market?
First off, marketing, branding, social media, and everything that you bring to the party is not one thing separated from a million things. It is, as I like to say, a stew. I can't have boiling potatoes over here and celery over here. It all has to come together. So your website, behind your website, has to be loaded with keywords so that you're getting the social media piece when people go to try to find you. If your website is not social media, well, I'm going to find the right word. Now, yes, if your social media marketing for your website is not right, then people aren't going to find you. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, I don't usually do it close to my mouth. Okay. But anyway, I was saying, so everything has to work together. With our clients, we do what we call a discovery call. We work through, for instance, we have a sheet it's like sort of like a packet. We want to know what colors you want for your branding. What do you want your brand to say to the world? Do you want it to be serious? Do you want it to be playful? I opt for clear, concise, deliberate marketing that's clean, that people can understand quickly what you do. Your name has to be reflective of that. My company's Most. My other delivery service is called Scarlet. These are one word, but then I have a tagline. So I'm saying everything has to harmonize and everything has to come together. Certainly on your personal brand, we're here today to speak to you because we know how to promote our personal brand. We were lucky enough to be befriended by Miss Jackie over there. And so we do public speaking. I do a lot of writing. It's not just you open up your door and the world's coming. They're not coming unless you meet them where they are. I interviewed a man. I made a sales call last week, and I said to him, "What are you doing for your marketing and branding?" He said, "Nothing. Here's my store." His store was terrible. He just had posters on the wall. I said, "Well, why would they go here to your store and over here?" I said, "What's the customer experience? What do people feel like when they go in there?" He said, "But people have to come here." I looked at him and I said, "My dear, you have no idea what you're talking about." So that's why I'm saying you have to know what you're doing. Now I taught that.
Can I piggyback on that?
But before you actually piggyback, let me ask the second part of the question. Aside from those strategies, how important do you think the story behind the brand is in making that differentiation?
That is exactly what I was going to say somehow. So we zoned in. He's actually a fraternity brother of mine as well. So we go way back. We go way back. But so when it comes to that aspect, it's very difficult to ensure that you have all those lines or those angles of the organization lined up, right? The what it looks like and all that different stuff. But the story behind it is the difficult part. And so a gentleman named Rashad Howard, he's an Air Force veteran. He's a serial entrepreneur. He brought this concept to us, and it's called Ikigai. It sounds weird. Ikigai. What is that, right? It's a Japanese term that means reason for being, right? And when you look at the reason for being, it takes it helps you understand what the story is you're trying to tell to the community, right? And so what are the key factors of the Ikigai? It's what you love, right? What you love to do, right? What you're good at. That's important, because if you're not good at it, then maybe it's not going to line up. It's what you can get paid for, which is very interesting. And guess what? The last piece is, what does the world need, right? So it's the intersection of all of those things, the intersection of your mission, your passion, your vocation, and your profession, right? So ask yourself those questions as an entrepreneur. What am I good at? What do I love? And what does the world need? Because every business is built to solve a problem, right? And so I always tell people, make their own avatar. How do you solve your own problem, right? And then create a community around that problem and then tell that story. And that leads to, okay, what is the color of the business? What is it? Is it bright and yellow? Is it blue? Why is it that way, right? You have something that stands behind all of the elements that you put out into the world. So that helps you differentiate because of your individuality as a business owner. And I think that makes sense.
Yeah. So one thing I think that a strong brand does, and as they've mentioned, you've heard the word community a lot. Branding, having strong branding, really you can create a community around a strong brand, right? So Dr. Paloma, could you share some insights on strategies on building a strong community around a new cannabis brand? And what initial steps should entrepreneurs take to engage effectively with their target audience?
Yeah, I think I'll bring Hope in on this too, just because I like to talk about we, together with some really amazing community partners, hosted one of the first cannabis expungement clinics in the state of Maryland. And it's through these partnerships with Marion, Maine, with the branding, with a lot of the other folks in the room that were with that That's how you build a brand, by really being behind what it is you're doing. You know, community partnerships are on a spectrum. There are companies that are going to change their logo to rainbow during the month of June, and then there are folks whose CEOs are going to be out there doing the work. And that's how you get behind a brand. There is no way to fake that. And those are the kind of folks that you want to partner with. And that's what makes you successful in this industry, in every industry, you'd say. So again, making sure that when you put your name on something, that you are there, that you are showing up, that you're with the folks that are doing the same work that you're doing. And otherwise, there's so many different brands, specifically in Maryland. You go to a dispensary, there are hundreds of different SKUs. When you recognize that name that you saw on the restorative justice initiatives, which you see on clemency activation, which you see in folks that are lobbying on Capitol Hill, that's the brand that's going to pop out at you at the store versus all these other SKUs that just color their logo rainbow for the month of June.
So, and one thing I'll say even about these communities, they're typically led by people who are transformational leaders, right? And that's why I want to go to Hope with this one. And as you continue to create your community surrounding your brand, even going back to the personal brand aspect, how have you been able to utilize your personal brand to help create your community?
I think my personal brand it gives trust. You know, it gives some insight to who I am as a person and what I actually care about outside of my business. And I think sometimes business owners, they try and be the face of their brand, and they do that solely through their company, you know? And I am really not, like, if you go look at Marion Maine stuff, you'll see me there, but it's not just me. You see our community, you see our employees, you see the brand. But then you come to my page, and it's not all Marion Maine either. It's me, but it's showing my authority in the space. It's showing what I do in the community, what I like to do for fun, all of these things. And what I'm finding, because even recently I've started to share a little bit more online, right? And I started to notice, like, okay, I'll post a picture, I might get 2,000 likes, but then I'll lose, 300 followers. And I go, okay, what I'm doing is I'm aligning myself now with people who truly are like me. And that's how you build community. And I think that personal brands, especially nowadays, it wasn't always like this. We didn't know who the founder of most companies were in the past, right? But now with the rise of social media, it's important. And people love to support other people. That's what I realized. Like Dr. Paloma said, in Maryland, there are hundreds of SKUs, right? But it's not quite like California where there are thousands and you can go to one store and it's completely different products. Pretty much in Maryland, you're going to get the same products at every store. So the differentiators are like, why would they come to your store over another? It's, the typical things, customer service and all of that. But sometimes it really is about supporting the founder. I literally I was just at my store doing something. I was talking to someone and she was just like, oh, you're the owner? Oh, okay. She's on the phone with her brother and her brother goes, okay, get me all this stuff. They bought a $500 order. And it was just because they wanted to support a young Black woman. So I think that getting out and telling your story is huge. And it's a big part of why people will trust you in the first place.
Absolutely. So in starting a new brand, there's anything you do that's challenging, there's always going to be challenges, right? So Claudia, could you tell us what are some common branding challenges that new entrepreneurs should expect as they enter into the cannabis industry? And we can even go down the line with this, is how do they actually overcome those challenges in a creative fashion?
So let's talk about advertising in the cannabis space. This is such a highly regulated industry. I'm in Pennsylvania. Oh, sorry. I always do. I'm used to speaking with it out here, not up here. Oh, right. Wow. Sorry about that. So in Pennsylvania, if we wanted to do anything with any of our clients, we have to go to the Department of Health. We have to get approvals. You can and cannot say certain things. That's why people hire my marketing agency, because if you're a Nicky New guy in this space, you're going to put up words that are going to shut you down fast, quick, and in a hurry because of the compliance issues. So not only like the panel of lawyers was talking about and, having the rug ripped out, how would you like to spend money on a marketing campaign and find out that the people who were running your campaign didn't understand cannabis? And everything has to be cannabis-centric. That's your lawyer. that's your accountant, that's your ad agency, because guess what, folks? If that doesn't work, you're going to be shut down. It's pretty simple, or have to start all over again.
So subject matter experts.
Yeah. First and foremost, every time I go to Marion, Maine, I drop like 5 because got everything in there. No, but when it comes to challenges other than advertising, I think especially coming into a fragmented type of market, like there's not vertical integration. There's you have your growers, you have your processors, you have your dispensaries, and you have ancillary businesses. And so it's actually pretty difficult to keep the consistency of your product, especially if you're a product manufacturer or somebody who has a great idea. This is a way that a lot of people get into the industry without licenses, and I'm trying to add value on top of, just talking about the specific topic. So, but adding value is allowing people, even if you don't make it through this first round of licenses, I'm interested as a business owner for you to come and say, I have this genetic profile, I have this new technology that no one knows about. I want you to bring that to us, because it's not a one size fits all kind of community. We're here to support, right? And so I think it's important for us to create that ecosystem where individuals collectively brand themselves as a unit. I think I'm going to work with Hope. I'm going to work with others as they come in, right? Because I think it's very important to establish that framework, and it starts to lower the barriers and the challenges of branding and community engagement when you do it with a collective group.
Yeah, and I think great points. I'll add as little as I can, but I think that just keeping an open line for feedback mechanisms. Every brand, a brand that was popular two years ago, it can be the least popular brand on the market. And so it's important, after we do this panel today, I don't want to come out into the audience and hear what I did well. I want to hear what I could have done better. And maintaining those customer communications, patient communications is so imperative this industry. SKUs, again, changing all the time in Maryland, brands changing all the time, but it's those brands that we see, it's those dispensaries that we see that have made it through COVID, really stood on its own, apart from all the mega MSOs in the state that have that customer relationship that Hope was talking about earlier, because there's nothing else like that. Not everyone is going to like you, and it's important to speak to those people who don't. It's in medicine. You do preventative care to make sure you don't get to those acute crises that end you up in the ER when you're not able to resuscitate that brand anymore. You got to do temperature checks all the time.
Before you go, one thing I wanted to kind of circle us back to is social media. Claudia, you mentioned that, and I know there are probably multiple people in this room that have been affected by, what you can and can't do on social media. I know Marion, Maine got shut down, Cannabis got shut down, Minorities for Medical Marijuana got shut down, right? So, but you just talk a little bit more about that, and what that looks like.
And and things are changing. These social media companies, they get a little smarter too, so they change their policies. So it's an ever evolving system. But yeah, Marion, Maine at one point was shut down for about 6 months. And I only got the account back, because I knew someone at Meta that literally had to do it herself. Like, she had to go in and do something. So I'm not supposed to have Marion, Maine's account anymore. And I had, at the time too, it was a cannabis focused media company that was running my social media, and that still happened, right? And that's because the algorithm got a little smarter. They started to be able to figure out these are the substitute words that people are using for cannabis. So now they flag those words. And before, at one point, social media couldn't recognize images. They couldn't recognize the specific items and images. Now, when you post actual bud, the algorithm can see that, So it's getting smarter, it's evolving, and with AI, just expect it to start evolving even quicker. But yes, this is why it's so important to hire people with true subject matter expertise, get reviews, go get referrals from other people, because a lot of people say they can do things that they cannot, or that they have experience in something that they don't. And social media, at the end of the day, it's a necessary evil, and I'm calling it an evil because I cannot stand it. If I didn't have to have an Instagram, I wouldn't have one. But it's really important, and it's how people can connect with you. You even see people now, right? Like, okay, let's say something happens with the airline, right? Airlines are famous for this. People will tweet them and then they respond, and they respond faster that way than they do through their customer service line, right? Because they don't want to be embarrassed. They know now, and because of influencer marketing, everything of the sort, people like what people say online matters. People have a voice now. Now, small people with 10,000 followers are getting huge brand deals because they're influencing their local micro community. So social media is super important as a business. It's how you can connect directly to your customers. And as a cannabis brand, you just have to be really, really careful. What we do is our saying is no selling online. We're not selling you product. We're showing you who we are. We're showing you our culture. We're telling you about things that matter to us as a brand and just things that we think matter to you as our customer. So, yeah.
About being shadow banned.
Okay. And then shadow banned is a real thing too. So they might not shut your account all the way down, but what they do is make it so that essentially they're not sharing your content. You'll never be on any Explorer page. You're not going to show up on people's feeds when they're scrolling. It's like you're not even there. Someone will have to and sometimes they even make it so when they search your name, they would have to type your name all the way out on the search bar and actually look for it. It wouldn't just populate like it would normally. So this is shadow ban. This has happened to almost every single cannabis account ever. And yeah, if you as a personal account, if you post any bud or flower ever, it happens. So you'll see people stalled at the same. I mean, I was at 30,000 followers for 6 months. I just started going up because I posted a few viral videos, but like that's the only reason that it changed. So I'm almost positive I was shadow banned.
So one thing that Hope did mention that I want to actually ask Todd about is you mentioned culture. And I want to know, how much does culture play a part in building a strong brand in the cannabis industry?
Culture is huge, but I think stories are more important, and aligning with the folks that you're engaging with. I'll shout out another business, Best Dirty Lemonade, my guy, Omari Anderson. I talked to him about branding the other day, and I was like, man, you post some really funny content around your product. And I was like, so why do you do that? He was like, look, man, I found out from a personality test that I like to have fun. So everything that I do is going to be fun, right? So next week you may see some poster go up or some post go up, and he's going to say, look, man, happy St. Patty's Day. I'm Irish or something, you know what I mean? And I'm like, that's funny, might be offensive, but at the end of the day, he's playing into the culture in Boston because that's where he is legally operating. And so if you don't know who Mari Anderson is, he's Best Dirty Lemonade, and he has a great cannabis-infused lemonade product that he created out of a necessity because of his mom that had early onset Alzheimer's. So there's a culture there of health and wellness. So there's a lot of different aspects to that question, but you have to get into the legitimacy of each person's real life and be authentic. So I appreciate that.
And I think that's where I was going to, is the fact that your personal brand really plays a lot into the culture of your actual business, and people are going to vibe with you really more than they vibe with your business. So, make sure that you just have a certain level of authenticity in everything that you do so that you can differentiate yourself. I wanted to talk about education. I think education is key in branding, and we know that an educated customer spends about 10 times more than a non-educated customer. So is there anybody who can, I guess, talk about the importance of educating consumers on specific products and educating them on your brand and your industry as well?
I think it's really important to post to your website a lot of content that's educational. This is just personally me. It's really what I'm giving back by explaining what things are. We also have a lot of white papers on the back of our website where people can go in and they can read about certain circumstances, how we helped a customer. So people relate to people. We're not just like this thing over here. We become part of you. We become transparent to your operation. And I remembered the word that I wanted to say about the back of the website, optimization. The back of your website has to be optimized properly with the right words. But if you put education in the back of your website, people are going to seek you out, cannabis education. And I myself started an organization way back, probably when I met you, Jackie, a long time ago. When Pennsylvania was going legal, I worked with Governor Wolf to get medical. I started an organization called Cannabis, Cannabis Innovation. I had many educational sessions, and I'm about to start a Pennsylvania Business Association, which I should talk to you about, John, because we don't have anything in Pennsylvania. We're the stepchild of the East Coast. So I just believe bring everybody along. And I always say to people, when you light somebody else's candle, you are not diminishing your own flame. You're just making the world a brighter place. And that's how I live.
Thank you. Thank you. So it was mentioned earlier just about partnerships, collaborations, and Dr. Paloma even talked about how they partnered with Mary and Main to put on the first ever cannabis expungement fair in Maryland. Let's just tap back into just the importance of collaborations and partnerships. What advice do you have for folks, entrepreneurs specifically, who are seeking to collaborate or partner with established cannabis companies or brands in the area, and how do they utilize that to increase their community engagement? Anybody?
So I think there are a lot of ways. So specifically, are we talking about new licensees or just folks in general?
We can go new licensees. We can also talk about ancillary businesses.
Yeah.
And folks who just want to be a part of the ecosystem.
Well, I'll start out with new licensees. So, the state even supports and encourages current licensees to partner with and assist new licensees, right? So we are incentivized just as much as you guys are going to need the help to work together. And I think, every company is kind of figuring out the best way to do it. Some people have space that they can lease out. Some people, it's just going to be technical assistance or maybe sharing a back office even. With other people, it may be something a little bit more physical. Maybe a processor or is going to be getting biomass from a cultivator at a huge discount. Whatever it may be, there is an incentive for current licensees to work with the new licensees. So that's going to be easy for you guys. You won't have to work too hard for that part. But I'd say for ancillary companies and then for community stakeholders that want to work with licensees, honestly, we do too. We need to connect with our community. So like, for instance, Mary and Main hosted a farmer's market in our parking lot for about 3 years during the farmer's market season, right? And we did that in collaboration with a nonprofit that was in need of a space. They ended up, the only reason they don't do it with us anymore is because over the 3 years, they gained enough traction that they needed a bigger space. But we were able to support them in that way. And honestly, it's something that we sought out that partnership. And it was just us kind of figuring out like, all right, what does the community need? All right, there are no grocery stores in Capitol Heights. How can we help with food insecurity? We found them, they were needing a space and it worked out. But had they come to us, that would have been even better too. So I would say just look for ways that companies can partner with you. And I'm not going to say that companies don't have money for you, but if you can go to companies with an ask that is not monetary, that's usually something that we find more attractive, to be honest. Most of these cannabis companies have invested millions of dollars into getting their businesses up and running, and it costs millions of dollars to keep them running. It is very, very difficult, especially in the current climate, with taxes the way that they are, and just with all the red tape that we deal with. It's very difficult for us, and most companies are not profitable. So it's very difficult to support financially, but we can support with our time. We can support with space. We can sometimes support with other resources that we have, with talent that we have. So my suggestion is to go to businesses and look for things that are easily available for them to give. And they typically will be more than happy. And once you build that relationship, maybe later you can ask for a little bit of money.
So last question here before we go to question and answer. Want to talk about just emerging trends in the cannabis industry today, and what should new entrepreneurs, or at least these new licensees specifically, really be aware of in terms of branding and community engagement, and how can they prepare themselves to adapt to these trends? Anybody?
Minor cannabinoids. Number one. So, THC is not king. I think everyone that's been in some of these markets know that there are going to be consumers. There's no shade, nothing wrong with it, who want that highest THC product. But we are serving patients from the age of 5 to the age of 105. There are more nuanced cannabinoids that are really being researched and studied now. Two main ones, CBG, CBN. CBN is really marketed towards its sedative properties and sleep. CBG, you can remember G, gastrointestinal system for a lot of these inflammatory bowel diseases. And it's super important from a marketing position that we're not forgetting about these minor cannabinoids. We'll talk about, we could have a whole conversation on terpenes, but really being able to build brands around that. Chronic pain is the number one qualifying condition in the medical program, and folks all over the country are suffering for it. Having that pain brand, that legitimacy backed by doctors, backed by the education we've been talking about the whole time, is paramount in your branding, and you can utilize that through those minor cannabinoids. I could talk about this on and on and on, but we're all going to have some form of pain at some point in our life, and having that marketing and that trusted brand. And so you don't reach for that Advil that damages your kidneys. So you don't reach for that acetaminophen that damages your liver. So you know which brand to go to at the dispensary with the minor cannabinoids to really treat that pain.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you. And Jackie, we're ready for some questions.
Down, I think, 2 mics.
Yeah. So who has a question in the audience? We have some online. Anybody have a question?
Yes.
Sorry, who you on? All right. Shantae Goodwin, PG County applicant for dispensary. Waiting on the lottery next week. Yes. So, yes, thank you. So my question is around the name that we choose. I've seen people say, stay away from the word cannabis, stay away from the word marijuana, because just putting your information on Google search, you may be blocked. So what are your recommendations on the name specifically and what to stay away from?
I'd like to take that, since we've come up with so many names. As I said earlier on, it is so much easier to remember a name that is not complicated. Everybody wants to make it crazy, green this, the tree is whatever. Enough with the leaves. Don't say green leaf. I'm tired of it. Oh, is there a green leaf here? Oh man, I screwed up now. But I'm just saying, because if somebody's been in business a long time, yes, everybody was green this, everybody was leaf that. Their logos were green, 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 green. Okay, well, that's not differentiating yourself from, I chose scarlet. Nothing to do with green, but it says a cannabis delivery service. It's clear. If I said to you, what does this sign represent? What is the whoosh? Look down at your sneakers. What's that whoosh? That's Nike. It's not a lot of crazy things. What do? They do sneakers. You know what that whoosh looks like. Please keep it simple. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. That's my thought. And whoever I've offended, please forgive. Wait.
Just to add to it from a business perspective, okay, so I won my license under the name Compassionate Herbal Alternatives, okay? These are like some of the most common used names in cannabis. Also, banks know that, and everyone else knows that too. So I remember we had a Bank of America account like way before we even opened under that name. And then, when we won our license, it was very easy to realize who we were. So that's gone. Honestly, at this point, my name is like flagged, so it doesn't even matter. But yes, those types of things do matter. And you have to think about it. There are a lot of different ways to structure it. Some people have management companies that are separate that it's just for transactions, right? So even banks that work with you that know you are a cannabis company will allow that, because a lot of times your cannabis account cannot do a lot of the same banking transactions that a regular one. Can't even have a debit card. So you may have a different company that just runs transactions for you under a completely different name, and that name should have nothing to do or sound like cannabis at all. ABC123 LLC.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm going to weigh in on that. The way I purposely branded CannabizMD is actually the MD is for medical. So that is the focus of CannabizMD. The mission is to educate, build, and engage an ecosystem committed to optimal patient and product outcome. And talking about colors and brandings, blue is a healthcare color. So that's why you see blue in my branding. Anybody else have a, yes?
Hello, good morning or good afternoon again. Thank you to the person who asked about the name because that was part of my question. I'm an MCST student, and for my capstone project, I'm building a repository for cannabis information. My focus is on maternal and infant health. I'm a doula, and so of course, pregnancy is taboo. It's off topic, and my friend here, the cannabis doula, we both deal with pregnancy and stuff. So my repository, it's called the CannabisRepository.org. I just got the domain name, and I'm compiling information for data for what they have available for pregnancy, cannabis use during pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. But I guess as I build this website, because I hope that it goes past just being my capstone project and be a resource for other MCST students and just in general for clinicians and patients in general. So I guess, do you have any, anything that can help me as I build this repository, anything that I should add or keep off of the side, or I want it to be more so focused like you go to the NIH, the National Institute of Drug Abuse or something like that, you can pull up articles for evidence-based information. And I just want to hear some guidance or feedback on that.
Big question.
Well, props to you. I'm definitely going to be following that page and you. I know we connected earlier, but have you connected with ACHEM? They're the Cannabis Health Equity Movement. They're run by the Knox Docs on the West Coast. Brilliant. Cannabis Health Equity Movement. Health equity, I think, in traditional Western medicine we're aware of, but in the cannabis industry, it's something we're not taught about a lot. Just really quick, ACOG, which is the overseeing body for obstetricians in the United States, completely doesn't recognize any health benefits of cannabis. We know very well that mothers use cannabis and they're open about it, not in the United States. And we need to have that education available not only to the patients, but to the doctors. This is a unique medicine in that the patients, for the most part, know a lot more than the doctors know. So you having that resource and making it available is amazing. And Jackie will be able to connect you with cannabis OBs. I'll connect you with the Knox Docs out there and on the West Coast, because cannabis health equity, we don't talk about it enough, but it's something that not only needs to be legitimized in the space, but really needs to be a part of medical school boards. So props to you.
Hey.
A question from somebody online is for, you have, for Hope, you have a dispensary. Paloma, Dr. Paloma, you're part of a company that has dispensaries, good growth, Imperial Health. In any event, so what are you doing? Because we here in Maryland, and every state starts off with a medical program. So as we have transitioned with a focus to adult use, and it's the industry is familiar that the medical patient numbers drop when people are coming into the market, which I consider they're self-medicating. What are you doing to service the medical cannabis patients?
Well, Marion, Maine has always been known for educating the customer. That hasn't stopped. So, even if you are, just like you said, Jackie, at the end of the day, you're self-medicating. Cannabis is medicinal, whether you believe you're using it for that purpose or not. So we educate the customer no matter what, whether you're a patient or just an adult use customer. Of course, we're doing all the things that the state mandates that we must do for our medical patients. We have to have a separate line. We have specific parking spots for them. So that, your experience is not interrupted, because now we have about 5 times the volume, right? So where you were used to being able to come in, and get out. It might not be as fast, but for our medical patients, it is. And then another thing that we're doing, we give deep discounts to our medical patients that are not available to our adult use customers. So that's the main benefit. We've had this awesome loyalty program the whole 5 years. It's only available to our medical patients. Medical patients, you get 25% off your first visit. Adult use customers do not. So, you know, we tried to maintain the program to be as much like it used to be, even though, you know, things are different now. And we're adjusting. It's been an adjustment for medical patients for sure. And we are seeing numbers drop. And we're seeing a lot of medical patients not renew their cards, you know. So I think that, you know, and I get that. I get that because at the end of the day, that costs money as well, too. But the fact that we have specific products that are only for medical patients do not pay sales tax. These things make it still beneficial to have your medical card.
Great. Thanks. Paloma?
I mean, yeah, in New York, I mean, New York, which has been around, you save money, like Hope said, being a medical patient. When you do the calculations, yes, the burden of cost for certifying is high. There are a lot of these places that will certify you for about $50 now. You get the compassionate discount. If you're a veteran, VI 22, shout out, you get a 22% discount. You get all these discounts built in, and you also get that guaranteed time with a pharmacist to speak about your conditions if you have that. So, and like Hope said, we're all treating something. You know, we have stress, we have insomnia. These aren't qualifying conditions. It doesn't need to be, you know, pharmaceuticalized like everything else.
We have a question. Anthony?
So I know you talk a lot about, of course, the marketing, but what does the collaboration look like with the physicians and the clinicians from a referral perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we were talking about rescheduling and descheduling earlier. Right now, because cannabis is Schedule 1 on the Controlled Substance Act, means it has zero medicinal benefit from a FDA standpoint. So what that means is that doctors cannot prescribe cannabis to their patients. They can recommend. So I can be a doctor. I can say you can have, you know, a high CBD product, but Todd's going to go in the dispensary and there's going to be, it's not the same as going to CVS. The bud tender or someone there could give them a high THC product, something that's not really helping them. So they don't have that stop that really is monitoring what patients are taking. Rescheduling could potentially change that or will potentially change that. We see kind of like with ketamine, which is also Schedule 3, similar pathways there. But again, it's just not the same thing in traditional healthcare, which has its benefits and its costs. Good question.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Anybody? Did I see hand? Yes.
Hey, my name's Tom. I'm actually from Virginia and worked as an ancillary in the medical cannabis industry for a couple of years now. I'm just wondering what your thoughts on collaborations between the states here. We're in a unique scenario here where DC and Virginia are coming online and programs are adjusting to what Maryland's doing. But as far as I know, there's little to no collaboration, yet you guys talk about collaboration here so much.
I'll go. So I think the collaboration is necessary. However, you know, since it's still federally illegal, it's on the states to figure out what they're going to do. You know, even as Virginia is, you know, debating what their bill is going to look like right now, they're trying to take bits and pieces. Even we did this in Maryland, taking bits and pieces from other states and talking to other regulators and lawmakers in those states to try to see how we can do the best that we can do here. But I think that's the thing is everybody's worried about doing the best that they can do for their state. So you're going to see the differences and the laws and regulations between the different jurisdictions. But I do think that once you finally start to see interstate commerce start to be a thing, then you're going to have additional collaboration between the states and jurisdictions. So definitely appreciate the question. I think it'll happen, but we're just not there yet.
You know, Tom, you and I were talking about delivery. I'm straying off here, but I've spoken about the Dormant Commerce Clause. And that is something that the folks on the West Coast have moved much further along on. I see shaking heads. Yes. they've moved much further along on to collaborate Washington, Oregon, and California, because once we can move product across state lines, that is the ultimate game changer. I hate to say it, but for those of us in transportation too, we're going to love it. So, yeah, I mean, that will open up the door for other kinds of collaboration. And there you go. Great.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the last panel of the evening. I know Jackie is going to tell you that y'all need to join us at Lambert's for the after happy hour, which is down the street. So look forward to seeing you all there, and definitely got to give a shout out to my dad. He's here today.
Oh,
First
fantastic.
time seeing me speak in person.
Yeah.
So appreciate you being here.
Yeah, and this panel, thank you so much. And, love to end on a high note. So we've heard a lot of scary things. And if this panel, just be ready when we're done for a group shot. So we'll grab over there. But so we did it when we are exactly on time. So we have come together, and you have helped CannabizMD and my vision mission to educate, build, and engage an ecosystem of like-minded industry folks that are committed to optimal patient and product outcomes. This wouldn't have happened without our sponsors. A shout out to Plum Ventures, Deborah Johnson. Our title sponsors, shout out to Planet Earth, Can Delta, Security Infrastructures, SHS Payroll, QCI, University of Maryland School of Pharmacy, I should know this, my alma mater, MS Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics, Perry White Jacobson, and Offit Kerman. Again, we have our happy hour at Lambert's, which is, as the map says, about 10 minutes away. As far as branding, shout out for my foundation, a nonprofit, our foundation that Eddie Pounds, who moderated the regulatory panel. TPAD is a nonprofit. It's a 501c3 that is empowering equitable participation in the cannabis industry through education and professional development. We have a TPAD May 14th in Annapolis. Delegate Janelle Wilkins, who is chair of Maryland's Legislative Black Caucus, which is the largest and most powerful Black caucus in the U.S., will be our keynote. She's going to be talking about what her intentions and the focus of the Black Caucus are to support the Black community as well as the cannabis industry. So make sure you come to TPAD. I want to thank everybody for your time, attention, commitment. Thank you, Luan, for your delicious treats throughout the day, keeping us fed. See you at Lambert. Thank you, everybody.